Yeah, you can tell that Obey are really looking for the CC heavy comps, and while I do like tier, I agree with you. I think that they need to try and revamp their strategy if they really want to be able to try and maintain any sort of control over NRG, because I think that their team as a whole just has way too much map awareness. Dimi always seems to know exactly where to rotate to, and I think one of the biggest things is that he always finds that ward that you would never expect. Why is there a ward there kind of deal? And then suddenly he's just in your back line and zoning out like 4 people on your team.
Definitely a very experienced solo laner is Dimi, so we'll see in game number 2 what they kind of switch up in the solo lane matchup or in the jungle, because the Nemesis was first picked coming out of Obey, but there was a lot of wing blades to counter that option. Obviously, we saw emilitoo getting away with his life every time with a rewind was just so clutch.
That's true.
No, it was definitely, like, I think an excellent pick by them as well. Like you mentioned, it's just the mobility that they had to really work around that Nemesis ult, I think was an incredibly smart strategy by NRG.
Going into this next game, where do you think Obey's chances for actually beating the top dog's energy stand in most? Is it in the ban phase? Do they get a good draft? And is that their best way to basically beat the top dogs? Or is it through playstyle? Is it through picking off a certain player? Or is it just one player in itself on Obey really stepping up and being the highlight?
I think they really need to worry about the pressure that adapting is going to be dishing out on them. So if they pick first pick yet again, they need to develop a different strategy instead of going for the same all-in style. They need to be able to figure out a strategy where you're either going to shut down Dimi or you're going to shut down emilitoo instead. Look for those silent ganks and then apply the pressure to some invades later on.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree with Tolly on that one, because I think that it's a little bit difficult to try and pull out an all-in composition for picks when it's such a team as like seasoned as NRG that are going to really know how to combat that sort of technique. And at the same time, I also think that for Obey, if they want to try and find a victory or two here, I kind of expect them, like I said, to just look for more controlling, and it's entirely in the draft, in my opinion, when it comes to a LAN environment. LAN is entirely different scenario. You know, you've got people shouting at you, and I understand that there's not as much pressure on the players considering they know that they're both qualified to Worlds, but at the same time, you just really want to come out with the W from the picks and bans, and I think that drafting pretty much determines how a game's going to play out.
You're still playing for pride. You still want to get that W under your belt. You want to be showing that you are the best out of Europe in this best of 5 set. So I still expect Obey to make the necessary adjustments heading into game number 2.
The coach there, Hazer, he sat on the analyst desk with us. Now he's doing work with his team, talking about the strategies, talking about what they need to do. Twig, not as jovial, more serious now. He knows that he wants that first seed. He wants to prove himself against what is considered one of the best junglers in the world in adapting. He showed up well on the Nemesis, but is that the god that he's best at? For those who maybe don't know, is this really where he wants to be, or is there somebody else he'd rather be on?
The thing is, like, we saw CaptainTwig with the Nemesis being paired up with PrettyPriMe on the Vulcan. It's a lot of damage, but not too much setup on the both end of the things. We have to see that PrettyPriMe could set himself up with the meatball into the ultimate, or waiting for the rotation from PandaLike on the Sobek just to be able to find the pluck or find a disorient, just to be able to confirm some of those ultimates. Because early game, PrettyPrime's damage was very low.
Yeah, I would also like to see Ataraxia try and opt for a little bit more of an aggressive hunter rather than the soul pick, because my big issue with the soul was that it didn't seem like he was really being as effective in trying to use that ultimate on his side. We saw I saw every single time I saw him ult, it just seemed as though they weren't really doing any damage, like he just seemed to be missing it. And so I just feel like he's much better on a hunter where he can play it more around his team, because Soul's one of those hunters that I think you look more for like a 1v1 kind of engage.
Right.
And I don't think that he's really going to be able to do that against a team like NRG.
That's right. Will they even let him get that 1v1? I think the Kamazats is just a troll here. They want to get a reaction out of Twitch chat, and they probably are, but looks like the first pick will be Ra. Terra, Jingwei taking up the board, as well as Ao Kwang and Neath so far. So Raw first pick for Obey. How do you like it?
I like it a lot because we saw just how much sustain it brought for NRG, and we also saw a really nice snipe coming out of Yammyn around the 32-minute mark, where he found a snipe getting Obey so low. Obey couldn't really counteract the sustain options that NRG had, and then we saw just a lot of dominant jungle control around the Fire Giant as a result.
Yeah, and you can see that NRG going in for the Erlang again. Like, that's definitely a flex pick, like we mentioned last time. And I think more so than anything, Dimi is probably just going to want to withhold on whether or not he's going to go with that. I mean, he could definitely have excellent pressure again with it were he to play it, but at the same time, he might be trying to spice it up a little bit.
With NRG being the second pick here, they definitely have the option of giving the counter pick matchup to Dimi in that solo lane against Variety. Obviously, Variety is well known for his Ymir, well known for his tier, but these are two relatively passive gods in the early laning phase. Ymir could be a little bit aggressive, but Erlang Shen is a little bit safer.
Yeah, and I definitely love the fact that they're going with this Athena Nemesis raw composition. I think it's a really solid core to have as far as your mid, jungle, and support synergy is concerned. I mean, Athena could technically be a flex pick, but I don't really expect Variety to take that Guardian into the solo lane. Like you mentioned, he's probably going to be looking more towards the Guardian side of things.
Why does this work so well? Is it because of the Athena taunt just setting up a lot?
Yeah, it's so easy for the Athena to go ahead and just burn those actives that Obey was having a lot of difficulties with in the last game against NRG. And so hopefully with Athena and their perspective, it'll probably be something to just try and make them waste their actives and then look for the engage with the Nemesis ult, and the Raw is definitely going to be able to shred.
And NRG are always going to have to be worrying about their positioning, obviously not wanting to allow PandaLike to get those multiple double, triple taunts as well, so going to be very careful in their jungle fight positionings. And now with this Bacchus pick for iRaffer instead, we're going to see a lot of aggression, I feel like, once the 3v3 little skirmishes come around.
Yeah, I think that it's actually a little bit interesting that they would opt for the Bacchus. I think that Bacchus is a pretty strong god when it comes to counter-engaging versus an Athena due to the fact that he has his burp that can stun her out were she to dash. He also has the flop, of course, if she tries to engage. So I think that that puts a little bit more pressure onto Obey in that they're kind of aware that they need something to follow up on the Athena. She can't be the sole engager, otherwise she's probably just going to get punished by the Bacchus, Thor, or Erlang.
And now with NRG having their 3 tanky frontliners, they're going to go ahead with the Soul, which could be potentially a flex pick either for Yammyn or either for emilitoo, but I expect this to go to the side lane instead.
I would definitely expect Soul to go to the side lane. Yammyn's pretty keen on playing physical hunters as well. He definitely is not foreign to those, and he loves playing hunters in that mid lane. I was talking to him yesterday, actually, and I mean, he loves Chiron. He loves to pony it up.
He likes to ride into the sunset sometimes, I guess you could say. Also is very well known for his Neath play as well, which could synergize very well with the Thor if we see adapting, rotating to gank either side lane. That World Weaver will certainly help out.
Yeah, it's just a little unfortunate that Neath was taken off the table. But at the same time, I 100% agree with you on that. But it'll probably be something more along the lines of like Janus, for instance. And I think it's interesting that they would opt for such a mage-heavy composition, considering the fact that they definitely could have gotten away with playing a hunter in the mid role.
Why do you think that is? I mean, is Yammyn just not liking his mid matchup with the hunter, or what is that?
It's just Janus is such a strong engage and such a strong disengage, and with a team like NRG, it's definitely pretty scary for Obey to have to constantly be concerned about, okay, if we engage here, what's going to follow up, because you can definitely expect that Janus Knight to be coming halfway across the map even, and definitely getting punished for any kind of misplay coming out on the side of Obey.
Especially when Nemesis is trying to find that all-in target, Janus is going to be very detrimental in terms of finding the escape path for that target that CaptainTwig is going to be looking for.
Also, you see here, the casters are ready to get this game going. Which power of the sun will prevail? You got Ra and Soul on both sides. Obey Alliance versus NRG Esports, Game 2 coming up.
Praise the sun. That's what both teams are saying right now. Either way, you see Coach Hazer. You know, I really got to take my hat off to him. He was coaching Cyclone, a much lower level team before, and then very quickly approached Obey, and they said, absolutely, we want you to help us out. And you can see him, we're talking a mile a minute there. If you're playing on Obey, you just dropped the game, which was relatively close. It wasn't terrible trounce. What do you want your coach to be saying? What do you think is going to help Obey get through this one?
As a coach, I would be saying to my team, okay, we lost this game, it's fine. Let's go back to our comfort picks. But I'm not sure about that whole Yi pick though as well. But as a coach, I assume they have some sort of strat here. I think they're looking for the team fights in the jungle.
So go ahead. The Hou-Yi pick into the Soul is very interesting. Soul obviously has the lane clear, and Ataraxia on the Hou-Yi probably not so much.
No, he doesn't have the clear at all. And the problem is, Soul is one of those gods where she wants to fight so much in the lane, and she wants to push. She can push the wave as well as push, you know, as well as look for the kill.
Raffer bought Blink. I'm just like, that's not just Raffer. Misclick? I mean, have you ever seen this before?
No.
Blink Bacchus?
Blink ult Bacchus?
I mean, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, what I can sort of postulate here is the fact that Bacchus obviously wants to initiate with the belly flop because it's got the crowd control on it. But at the end of the day, Intoxicate is an incredible tool for lowering the kill threshold. That's what we were seeing Yammyn do with the Ra. He would start the team fight with the Ra ult and have people down to about 25% so that the fight had to be taken differently. Raffer could, I guess, blink in, Intoxicate, lower everybody's health, and then look to belly flop elsewhere. But no. The blink is definitely a unique choice.
I mean, it's also just the mobility that NRG has drafted. Anytime you see Janus, it's already just, well, this team is super, super mobile, but then you pair that with a Thor as well, and then a Bacchus. I think this is just the fact that NRG are looking to engage super hard, and after the Bacchus belly flop, he's going to have a hard time chasing down targets. So if he can just blink, ult, and then belly flop as people run away, because that was actually one of the issues that NRG had last game, where they would engage and then it was just a great disengage from Obey almost every single fight.
You know, it's interesting. I'm sitting here looking at Yammyn on the Janus, and this is the second time that we're seeing Yammyn on a very meta character, which is kind of anti-meta for him. What do you think the reason is that we're seeing such bland picks out of NRG?
Well, Janus has been in his god pool for so long.
Oh my
and
word.
He's really good at that character. They have two globals as well, Thor ult, Janus ult. I think they're going to look for either the solo lane, but the problem is the solo lane, it's a Guardian. Guardians are really hard to gank in the solo lane.
They also have an Athena as well. I do expect PANDALIKE to be basically looking at variety every single time.
Yeah.
And, I mean, NRG dictated the flow of last game a little bit. I mean, it was on Twig, too. I think Adapting and Twig both had the exact same idea where it was go over to the solo lane. I don't know if that's going to be the case here. I'd almost rather see Adapting try and gank Ataraxia, because Ataraxia, again, I mean, he's going for this very aggressive playstyle on a Hou-Yi who likes to box, who tries to 1v1 and force fights, and if Ataraxia is pushed up, I mean, those globals are going to be really hard to deal with.
Dimi's getting a little bit knocked around by this Sobek.
It's fine.
No sweat?
He's fine.
No sweat, no sweat.
It's Erlang Shen. Sobek's not 5. After he uses his abilities, he has absolutely nothing. He just walks up, he's like, let me hit you with my axe.
Hey, man.
30 damage.
Gotta get the
30 damage.
Gotta get the sausages up, dude.
Well, here we go. Adapting already back to solo, but Variety's just staring at him.
Variety knows that.
Yeah,
I'm actually really surprised that he just stared at him. It would have been better if Variety just pretended he didn't know and made Adapting waste time in the jungle.
But that's not Variety
I'm actually
style.
really surprised. Do you do that ever?
I do that quite a lot, yeah.
I think it's super important.
Yeah, if the jungle is there, then I would try and keep him there for as long as possible, because it just delays their it delays their farm, it delays the chance to gank someone else. I did it yesterday against Homie as well. I had wards on him, and I just kept him there.
Adapting, taking to the sky, more defensive than anything else, but with the rotation out of Yammyn, Adapting's going to get aggressive. Nothing to find quite yet. There's the ultimate out of CaptainTwig. Adapting is in trouble, but Twig's by himself here. It might have been a little bit too aggressive.
Hey, he's got variety in tow. He's going to help peel. And a nice juke as well onto the Thor hammer. Oh no, that pathing.
Yeah, now CaptainTwig's the one that's in trouble. First blood going the way of NRG. And that really was kind of just all Twig himself.
No mana on either of these, so I mean this isn't going to be a kill. No way Ataraxia keeps pushed up, but again, like this is actually, we didn't see that Ataraxia against you guys. He still played his passive farm lane,
Yeah,
but right now against NRG, he's actually trying to go toe-to-toe with emilitoo. He's even picked up a god that excels at 1v1.
From the outside looking in, it always seems like Ataraxia is the guy that will play up to the harder opponents and kind of linger back during, against some of the lesser-known opponents. Is that just sort of a casterism, or do you think that's the case?
I think it's just because it's NRG. He wants to win, and he needs that pressure in that lane. The problem is the Sol Hou-Yi matchup is really bad for the Hou-Yi. You saw in that previous engagement, Athena had to ult, emilitoo was full HP, and the Hou-Yi was less than half.
So that's going to happen. I mean, it's 4 minutes in. That's going to happen for a while, right? emilitoo's going to have vast control thanks to Stellar Burst just being such a dominant lane clear ability. But some of the other matchups, you usually see at some point the other character start to take the lead. Is Ataraxia ever going to be able to control this soul?
He shouldn't be able to if emilitoo builds Dynasty Plate Home. That has pen, it has prot, and now that Hou-Yi's 2 got nerfed, the mark, it doesn't have pen anymore, but it has extra increased damage.
So that's really the look there, is a specific item path.
Yeah.
We'll see how that one works out for everybody involved. NRG right now have to be a little bit wary as PANDALIKE and CaptainTwig are grouping up on the right side of the map, but it's just for the Gremlins.
Obey have actually looked really good in this set against NRG overall. Not for anything when it comes to team fights, not for laning phase, but simply for the fact that when they lose something, they've actually been able to take away from NRG. We always talk about the top teams being able to do that. You know, Orbit, you guys are very good at that. The old Cloud9 adapting should be fine here, but the Athena ult was forced on the left-hand side in that 1v1. Immediately, we see NRG collapse on the speed. Obviously, Obey can't stop it, but because the double globals of Thor and Janus were down, Obey responded by stealing away the red, and so they're doing a good job of when they lose something, making sure that they're able to answer back and keep kind of this lead that NRG has in check. It's only 300 to 400 right now, but I mean, if they just start giving up every single buff, it's going to go downhill quickly.
And I mean, that's sort of the intelligence level of the team.
And they need to capitalize on NRG's mistakes, which is kind of hard because NRG don't usually make that many mistakes where you can capitalize on them, and it's really rough.
So what kind of specific mistakes are you looking for? Is it a bad rotation out of Dimi? Is it just a poor teleport, or is there something deeper?
It's poor recalls, it's poor recalls, it's TPs. If you can force Dimi to TP, you can get Verity ahead.
Yeah, we saw them actually abuse adapting and emilitoo really well last game. When adapting would dive in, obviously looking for PrettyPriMe, the team would turn around and quickly try and damage him. They weren't able to do it repeatedly, and that's why we saw Prime have so much trouble, but they made sure to pay attention when he did go in. It just wasn't as successful as they would have liked.
Look at all this attention being paid to these fire elementals.
There's 9 people on the right-hand side of the map right now.
These are worth 90 gold total. A lot of investment.
Hey, it's XP.
Oh.
Yammyn gets the kill on a PrettyPriMe. He was doing it before with Ra, now he's doing it this time with Janus. The long-range snipe ability is just working out so well for Yammyn, and he can get up close and personal as well. Unstable Vortex takes out the jungle.
Variety's not going to be able to stop this. I mean, maybe delay a little bit, but he needs to be careful for his own life. And you could see just emilitoo doing a good job of keeping Ataraxia busy in the mid. Same with the Athena. And emilitoo just takes a little bit of poke. He's going to back out.
And there's the ultimate out of Athena. You can see Variety and friends want to get a little bit aggressive. iRaffer gonna try and waddle his way out of this one. Certainly finds it, and there's a wall. PANDALIKE able to grab him, but he's gonna find a portal through a wall this time. And safe and sound are the guys on NRG.
And not the worst. I mean, it was about a 300 gold difference, now a 500 despite them picking up those 2 kills. I believe they stole away the speed buff as well. You can see iRaffer picked it up. And that's actually scary to have a Bacchus with the speed buff.
Look at this play. Obey are going for the Gold Fury. Nobody knew until they heard the suns come down. Yammyn's here, but it's far too late.
Yammyn actually in a lot of trouble. That was a free kill that Obey dropped, but Dimi now TPing from underneath Ataraxia in a lot of trouble, and he's just going to get chased down. Great taunt. And never mind, they shouldn't have stayed to try and kill Yammyn. Ataraxia overextending, not setting up for a kill.
It was a fine trade though for Obey. They got the Gold Fury, 1 kill, dropping 1 kill is fine in my opinion. They also forced the
purification.
Yeah, they also forced the purification beads, and they also got Dimi's TP, which reduces the time to farm.
And again, I mean that's going to be either Obey need to abuse that, or at the very least make sure that NRG aren't going to be able to start invading as easily. This does not feel like an 8-minute game. This has just been brawling nonstop. It's been team deathmatch.
Well, it's funny. It's almost as if game 1 has continued on to game 2. The players are kind of sticking to what they did in game number 1, kind of prioritizing the same targets and doing fighting even on the side of the fire giant before he's even spawned. Like I said, those elementals are worth not a lot of gold in the grand scheme of things. Certainly not enough to warrant bringing 4 players over. Why is it so heavy on the side of the map?
The XP early game is so nice though, and adapting, obviously he's trying to get the lead on the Thor. He wants to try and pressure a solo lane as well, because that matchup will soon turn into Sobek's favor.
So just looking for a little bit of extra help. No blink this time. iRaffer jumps right on top of the target, and that's 1 dead Athena.
Again, just Frezzy pushed up by himself, but in the meantime, CaptainTwig successfully ganks Dimi, and despite the ult from Janus, they didn't take much damage, so they're going to be fine. You can see NRG take the first pull and be like, okay, we actually can't do anything here, but they aren't in position to at least try and siege this. The Raw's just too good at clearing out waves without putting himself out of position.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that you can tell almost immediately how squishy your target's going to be when you start attacking it.
Yeah, and the Janus ult was a bit late because they were fighting in middle lane, and the Erlang didn't get his ult off, which kind of sucks.
It was like a second from the heal proccing, though. It was very close. And
it's always
and
like
then
half a
and then Dimi would have had the Janus ult and probably made it out.
Yeah, well.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yes. It's exactly like verbatim what I was going to say, Kevin.
I know. I can see it in your face. Just the coulda, shoulda, woulda. I could see it just start to curl up, and I'm like, no, let me snag this one real quick.
And then I'm just sat there like, well, okay.
What am I gonna say now? Those are the only words I had prepared in my mind.
Oh no, okay. So I just babbled on about how I couldn't say what I wanted to say, and now we're finally at 10 minutes. Players, if they're gonna hang out on the right side, those fire elementals aren't going to be there anymore. It's now all about the fire giant, and that one's a ways away. So the entire focal point has been around this right side. Yeah. Where's it going now?
Ooh, PANDALIKE missing a taunt, but look at the damage from PrettyPriMe now. He was below the Athena before he hit that beam onto iRaffer right now. This Raw has not been as effective as Yammyn has. Even in the early game, we saw Yammyn really hitting big snipes onto key targets, most notably PrettyPriMe, and PrettyPriMe hasn't been able to do the same.
Yeah, and I don't think that's his fault, though, because they're focusing on the right lane, and Twig ganked him, and they killed the Dimi.
Yeah, I was going to say it's sort of column A, column B in the sense that there's just too much going on outside of the map for the Ra to really make the same type of plays. That one's going to bring Yammyn down low, but no follow-up this time around.
I feel like Prime is now playing exactly how Yammyn played Raw last game, where Yammyn was actually using his snipes early in fights to damage backline characters.
Yeah, push them out.
Because obviously they had emilitoo and adapting on characters that could dive super effectively.
Well, adapting is going to be the one diving. He's got Athena ultimate channeling. He's going to land right on target. But the player's able to exit on the west side. Jumping in is iRaffer with the initiation. Here comes the rest of NRG. emilitoo trying to provide some damage, but it's all about the Sobek. Adapting answers back and takes down one, and PrettyPriMe cleans him up.
Dimi with a 4-man taunt, though. Gonna line up for Prime. One hit, and Dimi does get the kill. Now Ataraxia in trouble, pinned in place. NRG pushing forward, but Twig still hanging around on the backside. Dimi sets up for 2 more return kills.
Fantastic team fights out of NRG. So often they just look like they're one person is controlling the gods. They're able to find the correct positioning and, more importantly, the correct combination of abilities. Very rarely are any of these players going to single-handedly work things out. Yeah, it's all about coming together.
I'm not sure what Verity just did there. He overstayed and he got picked. He got the pin. Dimi got the pin on him.
It looked like he was trying to kill Yammyn.
Yeah, but can you kill a Janus like that?
I'm not saying it was going to be a successful endeavor. I'm just saying it looked like he was trying to kill Yammyn.
Yeah, you know what it did.
But I mean, that's the thing about Obey, is that PandaLike and Variety really always feels like they play like to prove themselves. But sometimes it works out in their favor, where you see Variety blink to a backline, get some huge fearless, and then just Obey win a team fight off of his play. And then other times, he goes and tries to find a Janus in a 1v3, and it doesn't pay out.
Yeah, a little bit of the decision. You know, it's interesting though, because we also regularly see Variety make those decisions that maybe aren't so top tier, but still wind up wiggling his way out.
To be fair, though, Obey are not in this point without Variety. I think Variety has expanded significantly as a player. I do think something Funball mentioned earlier, that his God pool's a little bit weak, and obviously he's forced on the Sobek with the Tyr and Ymir bans, and so I don't think he's as comfortable as he is on those 2 gods, but sometimes the plays he makes are the reason Obey can compete with the top teams.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I think that he has arguably been one of the most improved players this split.
Yeah, and his God pool has increased with the Sobek, and they get the kill on the PandaLike. The Roll misses though.
Just completely decreased. Gone.
And adapting off the mark there, Twig, just a little bit too fast. And it's just, like, this needs to stop happening. It's okay sometimes to lose PANDALIKE in the early game if you can get something off of it, but you're at a point in the game where if you get picked off, that's just going to allow NRG to go for a Gold Fury and potentially snowball.
You can make a couple of trades in the early game. In fact, you can be down a little bit in the early game, and I'm always the caster that says stay away from the kills. When I meet somebody new, I tell them don't look at the kills at the top. It's 10-3, though. That's that huge differential. That tells a story that NRG are just having more opportunities go their way, and they're able to execute a little bit more clean than Obey.
Do you think Obey or NRG plan stuff like that we just saw where it's the blink in from the Bacchus who's low health, but he knows the Janus is going to snipe, so he's going to have that extra portal anyway?
I think it's a bit of both. I think that they make the decision on the fly, but I also think that it's somewhat coordinated.
Yeah, it's got to come all together. NRG here going to push players out. Variety's looking to turn around, looking for the pluck. Dances in between. There's a nice smack up, and that is trouble. Low HP. He's going to be able to jump in place. Variety gets knocked up, but CaptainTwig takes down iRaffer, and here comes Dimi finding an exit on the north side, and the rest of Obey shifting to the left.
Yammyn and Im are slow there. I'm surprised that we actually didn't see Obey try and chase those players out because they were so unhealthy. This should be a pretty free Gold Fury. They don't have a Wrath. And, Adapting's in the sky, and they know it here. They're going to reset. Yeah, the immediate reset. Gotta love the way the PANDALIKE uses the dash for that one. Adapting lands on the back and just takes out the jungler. Oh, Dimi. Thrown back right now. Adapting's just going to and this seems like a disengage through space and time, though. Going to put Ataraxia in a bad spot. Dimi takes the portal. emilitoo pushing forward as well, but emilitoo has no health and no mana, so NRG got to back out. But beautiful combination from Adapting and from emilitoo there.
Yeah, and that was well coordinated from emilitoo. He knew how much mana he had for the Stellar Burst and for the ultimate, and the Thor gank, he dunked down, and then the Soul ult hit, and they insta-killed. Just being able to count on your teammates' damage in addition to yours. That's sort of what I was talking about before. Just these players all operating on the same page. And it's certainly what's going to allow you to be successful here in Smite. And the thing that makes NRG so strong is that their coordination is so top tier, and they just showcased that, and it looked really nice.
I feel like every play they make is a highlight, where it's just you always see these beautiful combinations that you see maybe once a game from other teams, and it's just every single team fight. And now Adapting, trying to steal away the speed, not successful there. Good job on Twig on holding that out, but this game's going at about the same pace as last one was. Maybe a little bit more boisterous and active in the beginning, a lot more fights, but where NRG are clearly the team in control of the game. They're the ones with all the momentum. But Obey actually aren't allowing them to get a huge lead. You can see it's only 2,000 just over separating the teams. And how are they able to command their own deficit so strongly?
I think it's mainly the way they farm, and they keep trying to force the Gold Fury. emilitoo here is looking for it as well. He's looking for the poke. They just cleared the wards as well.
And here comes PANDALIKE, just trying to zone out the players from NRG. And emilitoo's going to dodge the hit at this time around. PrettyPriMe not as successful. There come the Suns, and problems for PrettyPriMe on the front side. PANDALIKE actually gets the kill on iRaffer with
still
the
in the sky, and he does find one in the back line, but it's a disengage. emilitoo by himself. Stellar Burst connects, and Raw is down. Now Ataraxia locked under tower as Twig and PANDALIKE still trying to fight off energy.
CaptainTwig going to activate the shield and walk away, and likely we'll see the same out of energy for about 30 seconds.
But again, here, the issue is that this Raw is not as clean as Yammyn's was last game. There was no purification on emilitoo in that situation. He gets taunted. You have to hit that snipe if you're Prime.
Yeah, and the main issue there was Bacchus blinked into the fight, and then he got insta melted because Hoyi ult does 40%. I think it's a 40% slowdown
if they're tagged up.
Yeah,
with the mark.
And then he got the stun onto the Bacchus. The Nemesis ult was used, and he just died.
Just a lot of stuff going into that direction, and you know, we were talking a lot about that honestly today. The supports being targeted in some of these tougher lanes.
I think NRG have very poor team fighting relics. iRaffer's gone Blink, which is, pretty selfish. Sure, it can allow you to chase out members, but then they only have a Sprint and a Curse, which are typically considered lower tier actives compared to Meditations and Shells when it comes to team fighting. And Obey have double Shell, a Meditation, a Sprint, and the healing from Raw.
Yeah, you know, I really got to admit, I think some of these choices are just completely out of left field. Where do you think the team is coming from?
Well, for one, they needed the creeping curse. I'm still not sure about that blink though.
Variety.
Kill Variety here.
Not sure about that one. Just gets caught out in the middle of the lane, honestly. Like, a couple of wards here and there, but I feel like that gank versus a Thor on the solo lane, that's gonna happen to you.
Yeah, and Obey here, like, Verity just got picked, and they're trying to force something on the other side of the map because Thor's still in the right lane here.
Well, it's a 4v4. There's the curse active, and Nemesis ult comes out onto iRaffer, who's gonna be fine. Ataraxia trying to find shots onto emilitoo, but he's not hitting anything.
And there's the dash away, but you can't escape the Suns. emilitoo drops the supernova, and it's gonna be death for Ataraxia. There's the safety ultimate, but meanwhile, the aggressive plays as well. Yammyn brings out the unstable vortex, finds one, PrettyPriMe deals the damage, but not lethal. And Dimi gets the last kill of the engage, 4 players down.
Yeah, and you just saw in the face cam as well. He was just face bombing because emilitoo didn't die, which, you know, he should have died there. Wasn't enough damage though.
I mean, what do you do? What do you do?
And Ataraxia also
TP though
missed like 3 basics in a row. Variety, oh, he wants emilitoo so bad, but he's got to defend this Gold Fury. No wrath on either side, and it's just going to be a reset from NRG.
And that's exactly what Obey wanted. They just want, if we're not there, don't let them talk about us.
Well, they got the Gold Fury anyway. Variety is still hanging around.
Why?
Needs to be careful.
Yeah.
I mean, NRG aren't going to punish him, but I think they're a little bit worried about the potential of the ultimate from PANDALIKE, even though it's down right now. Or I guess just the team's coming out of base.
Yeah, what just happened there as well, Variety tried to zone out the Gold Fury and look for the kill on emilitoo, so he didn't make a
decision.
Yeah, he didn't make a decision, and emilitoo was waiting on the side when Thor got the stun and he got the hammer. emilitoo looked for the poke as well, and it was so well played because Variety couldn't go on emilitoo because the Thor wall was blocking him as well, and the Stellar Burst just went through the Thor wall.
Yeah, just having multiple options and multiple approaches is really what makes a team successful. And when they pull out a new strategy, a lot of times you'll see these complicated strategies that there's 87,000 moving pieces. This is very clearly just ABC, and you know that's part of the reason why it's so successful.
It's going to be really rough for Obey, I think, in the next fights. I'd like to see them utilize their relics a little bit better. They get into these like big AoE brawls, and it's just not working out for them. I think they should try and just start fighting in lane and space themselves out a little bit more. The only thing they have going for them really in the tight corridors is the ultimate from Hou-Yi, along with PrettyPrime's Raw, but the Raw just hasn't been as impactful as it was last game for NRG. Yammyn was just hitting these multi-man snipes. Yeah, Prime got a big snipe onto emilitoo there just a little bit ago, but the fight was already over and emilitoo lives anyway.
I mean, people kind of look at this, look at some of these gameplays as cheesier or something, right? Being able to fall back on the Raw, but just having that different option allows PrettyPrime to. So Yammyn is going to play the aggressive Raw, and you can play Raw multiple different ways, which is why it's so wonderful. CaptainTwig just got deleted.
And this was just Obey not knowing what NRG was doing. NRG actually didn't telegraph it at all. They were all just kind of split up in multiple lanes, and now they just started collapsing. They found Twig in his own jungle. Then emilitoo's 1v1ing Ataraxia on the side, and they just immediately rotate the team after picking up Twig to get a second free pick.
So go ahead.
He forced a bad team fight in the dual lane because he knew emilitoo knew his team was in the jungle ready to follow up. He forced the Aegis, he forced the Hou-Yi, and I honestly don't like this Hou-Yi pick.
It just doesn't. First of all, it doesn't feel like Ataraxia, and then at the same time, it's clearly not been working for him into the soul. And maybe this is just him not having Hou-Yi in his god pull. He probably hasn't practiced it too much. Maybe doesn't know all the matchups.
Yeah, I don't.
Wait, what is Prime doing here? Why is Prime in? I didn't notice how he got there. Why is he at the speed buff?
Just all over.
Yeah, as I was saying about the Hou-Yi, it's not in his god pool, and I'm not sure why he picked it. I understand that they might have wanted to kill the Bacchus as soon as he jumps in, but I actually think the blink was pretty smart now that I think about it.
Why is that? Expand on that.
Because Bacchus can blink in. If Hou-Yi marks that and then forces the ult, he can just jump away after that, straight away, and that's one ultimate force for a blink. I think that's worth it.
And that's one of the things we saw earlier where iRaffer did blink in, he got marked, and actually all it took was one stun inside the Suns from Ataraxia for him to just get erased. And so it didn't work in that situation, but if he had been jumping in the whole time, he probably would have died a lot more than he had. It's only 3 deaths. I mean, it's a majority of his team, but that's fine. I mean, Obey is putting so much emphasis on this tanky support that emilitoo and adapting and Yammyn, honestly, it seems like they're just able to kind of run around these team fights untouched.
And that's by design. That's what you're given when you're able to play so aggressively.
That wall, very unfortunate. Taunt coming out though, adapting. Gonna purify. Variety still low, and here comes Dimi around the side.
Every single time Dimi makes the wraparound and is able to change these team fights, but it's Obey answering back. Down comes adapting and starts it off. Gets the kill on a Variety. Still not done yet. Continuing underneath the tier 2 tower. Yammyn picks up one on the front side, and meanwhile healing in all of the nonsense is gonna be PrettyPriMe. But watch, here comes Yammyn looking for another kill.
How is he gonna get out of this? He's just surrounded by so many. Adapting finds the kill, and now Dimi working on PANDALIKE as well. He dashes into his Phoenix. Good taunt. iRaffer tanking it, but he's just too healthy right now for it to phase him. It's going to be 3 dead on the side of Obey. A middle Phoenix as well. And NRG just in a great spot.
Yeah, and Prime just got picked there. He was in, well, he couldn't get out as well. So NRG was like, we're going to have some chicken tonight.
It actually okay, Hindu. It actually looked like Obey might have been able to hold because PrettyPriMe had a big snipe on emilitoo and he wasn't able to really take part in the fight. But again, just CaptainTwig was the one diving this time. And it seems like on Obey, it's always one person diving, trying to pick off members of NRG who they got low, but they haven't been successful once.
Yeah, and the problem is with Variety, late game he's always looking for the pluck, or I feel like he's always out of position, and NRG capitalized on that. They got the mid Phoenix, they got the left Phoenix before that, and they're going to get Fire Jam for free.
This feels like a much sloppier game compared to their game 1. Game 1 looked a lot cleaner. Obviously, they lost that one, but there wasn't as many individual mistakes. And again, NRG not making any. They play so well as a team, and they coordinate how their team fights are going to go every single time.
Oh my, that damage.
Dimi sprinted too, and through space and time, PrettyPriMe, there's no way he gets out of this.
This is, yeah, he's just going to fall to the wayside. Yammyn gets credit for that one. Ultimately, he'll be 6-0 and 10 on mid. Adapting on the backside, gets the Goomba Stomp on Ataraxia to bring him down for the 5th time this game. Ataraxia is dying once every 5 minutes, and Yammyn making sure his teammates follow suit.
This is not the best game from Obey. They're really gonna have to rethink. And NRG are just coming out. I mean, it's Twig and it's PANDALIKE, and they're not gonna be able to stop it. NRG with just such clean execution throughout the game.
That ending actually surprised me a little bit. You see a couple of players down in 25 minutes. You're not sitting out for these 50-second respawn timers. That was, so I thought it was very risky. Give me on a scale of 1 to 10. How risky was that play?
I think it was perfectly fine, honestly. They got the picks. emilitoo was taunted at the end of the game. He had a little soul left, and yeah, it was a free win.
Honestly, the game was going well for Obey at the start because they were matching pace to NRG. You know, they had their speed buff invaded. They counter-invaded on the red. They were doing the Gold Fury, and really where it turned was that Gold Fury that you mentioned, where Obey really just forced it because Adapting had ganked on the right-hand side. It doesn't go their way. They get picked off. And then after that, we never actually saw Obey get another team fight. The game was only about 2,000 to 3,000 separated before that Gold Fury. Then after that, it was just Obey getting picked off repeatedly. It was Variety getting picked off. It was Prime getting picked off. Twig. Every single member of that team had some pretty serious misplays in the end.
Yeah, and the last fight where Variety got picked, I think that was one of the major key points where he got picked, he died, they got mid Phoenix, they got Fire Giant, yeah, and that's what gave them the win.
Obey with their backs up against the wall here. We're going to toss it to the Analyst desk to see what they have to say about game number 2.
Well, again, in convincing fashion, NRG take the win over Obey. And I am curious what your two thoughts were about the matter. It does seem that NRG have just found the rhythm. They're not going to get stopped. We thought maybe Obey would show something crazy, but they've got one game left to prove it.
I like the adaptation that Obey had, picking the Athena, trying to set up PrettyPriMe on that Raw a little bit better, but unfortunately, there were too many responses for NRG being able to stop that if necessary. The Thor could easily stun him out. The portal can go through on the floor. Bacchus knock up as well as the Erlang Shen. So not able to really find the setup, I feel like, for PrettyPriMe.
Yeah, I think that one of the negative factors as far as Obey's draft is concerned is that it really seemed like NRG responded accordingly by picking gods that are excellent at escaping from a Nemesis. So you could see that Twig really wasn't able to be as effective as he probably would have wanted to be with the Nemesis Soul, considering that if he ults the Soul, she's going to 3 and immune away. If he ulti Janus, I mean, it's just, he can portal everybody away, and it's just so hard to try and have any kind of lockdown potential, considering how well NRG are able to respond to those sort of situations.
And the problem for Twig that game was the fact that Adapting wanted to invade that speed buff yet again. Now, fortunately for the rest of Obey, they were able to respond with that red buff invade, and they kept the game relatively even by being able to do that early gold fear around the 7.5-minute mark. But it wasn't really enough. After the 11-minute mark or so, it was all NRG's game. They started grouping up. They ganked Variety that one time in the soul lane, and then they forced a gold fury fight where they got 4 for nothing and the gold fury, and that's when they got that huge 7,500 gold lead, eventually transitioning into the left and middle Phoenix without even going for the fire giant.
Yeah, one thing that as well is Obey really was not able to utilize that raw sustain like we saw Yammyn in the previous game. You can see he only had 7,000 healing coming out on the side of Obey, and so you could tell that those fights just really were not going their way. NRG were locking down the kills. They were counter-engaging almost perfectly every time. You could see that iRaffer even had the blink on Bacchus, as opposed to the standard, we're just going to go ahead and pick up a shell or something. I think he wanted to use that as his engage, and we saw him do it a couple of times, and I think it's actually a really good idea considering that instead of having to worry about flopping and then using his ultimate, he can just get in there right away and intoxicate for the team fight.
He was definitely feeling himself. He got off to an early lead using his intoxicate to secure a few kills. You know, some people call it KS, I call it kill secured every now and then. But iRaffer was doing his job as a support, finding the necessary kills for the rest of his team, and as a result, NRG now finding their second win, going into this third game, just one game away from securing that first seed.
And of course, the first seed, that's the big story for today, but there's a couple other things that you're going to get just for watching this broadcast. If you link yourself over at hi-rez TV, actually, excuse me, hi-rez.com, and of course your Twitch account and your hi-rez account, when they become one, when they become unified, you will get some extra cool things from us on the house. That will give you a cutesy free avatar chest roll and some other cool prizes as you continue to watch. So it's something that just accumulates. It's called drops, and it gives you a chance at some really cool gear. Now, of course, we've also got something really cool that if you had been seeing it, a lot of people were laughing because they were saying, I'm watching a video of his, and then there's a commercial of him explaining something about that before the video starts. It was the hi-rez Expo trip that we announced, and that was basically send a minute in of why you want to go to hi-rez Expo, and you will have a chance to actually get a free kind of all-inclusive paid trip to the Expo from us, get a backstage pass, hang out with everybody cool. Well, we saw the entries that you put in. We loved so many of them, and we're excited to announce the winner today. In fact, the winner is Rebecca Do. And so Rebecca Do, congratulations on being able to get a free trip out here to hi-rez Expo, hang out with all of your people, get a little chest rub over here from Anatoly, hang out with Taco, and all that other good kind of stuff that you're going to be doing. So we're excited and happy to welcome you. It's a pretty cool thing to allow, you know, just a fan to make it all this way out.
It's always awesome hanging out with the fans, just being able to see where they came from, their story, because everybody has a story. When you go to hi-rez Expo, you get to see how long they've been playing Smite, who got them into Smite as well, which is always fantastic and interesting.
Not to mention, it's always really fun getting to know the players in a little bit more of a relaxed environment than usual. I mean, granted, not the ones that are playing, of course, but at the same time, it's just everybody is pretty friendly behind the scenes as well, and so I think that it's just an excellent opportunity to meet people.
Both of you have been to the hi-rez Expo. I actually haven't been yet, so this will be my first one this year. One of the best things you do all year?
Absolutely. The first year I was there as actually a spectator. Our team didn't qualify there. Second year I was there as an analyst, and now the third year I'll be there again.
First year, so far I've only been a one-and-doner, but I'm pretty excited for this upcoming one.
That's right. It's gonna be really fun, and we are excited that you all will be joining us. We've got another game coming up right after this, of course, and it is NRG trying to close it out 3-0 against Obey. Obey